Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, a second drone strike in as many days targets Port Sudan. It's the first time the city's been bombed amidst the country's devastating two-year war. RSF paramilitaries are trying to make up for their recent loss of Khartoum, the capital, to army forces. Also, the US's senior advisor for Africa says that DR Congo and Kigali have submitted a draft peace proposal as part of a process meant to end fighting in eastern Congo. But the M23's rebel seizure of eastern cities has left many under the thumb. In Bukavu, artists are resisting occupation in their own way. And after decades of waiting for the new urban train to arrive, it's finally in port. Lagos motorists breathe a sigh of relief for a train that could revolutionize transport in a city internationally notorious for the length and frequency of its traffic jams. We hear from our correspondents in Nigeria. But first, we head to Sudan, where on Monday, a fuel depot erupted into flame as Port Sudan was hit by the second drone strike in 2 days. Over the weekend, the RSF paramilitaries, who've been battling the army since 2023 for the first time, attacked the city that's become the de facto capital. The government relocated there early on, and until Sunday, it had been spared the violence that had cost tens of thousands of lives and uprooted 13 million people. Our Naba Mohideen is in Port Sudan. Naba, really happy to hear that you got through that all okay. Thank you so much for being with us again. Now, we spoke just last week and you were saying that you were concerned that the RSF's loss of Khartoum could be propelling the war into a new phase. What a terrible way to be proved correct. Please do tell us more about what the last couple of days have been like for you and others living in Port Sudan.
Georgia, yes. Actually, it's really sad to hear that all of the expectations and concerns become true, and now we are living this reality. While I'm talking to you right now, I can still see some flames and some flames in the sky of Port Sudan for the first time for 2 years. I have been here for almost 2 years since the war erupted. I just spent few months in Al Jazeera, and then I came to Port Sudan. It's been a safe place for hundreds of thousands of people, of families, of journalists, and of course for the government and for the army. So for the last 2 days, Port Sudan itself, it became a battlefield where we saw for the first time drone attacks targeting civilian infrastructure, and we see flames of fire, and also we see smoke in the sky of the capital. So right now, just 2 minutes from now, Georgia, we saw a new bombing. We don't know whether it's a drone attack or it's just one of the gas storage that was, of course, impacted by this morning attack. RSF targeted one of the military airports on Sunday, and actually they used 11 drones to attack the airport and surroundings of the airport. And also on Monday, they targeted fuel storage in the capital, in the de facto capital of Port Sudan. So it's a new phase, and that means the war is of course, facing new scenarios that is unexpected, because Port Sudan has always been very far from the conflict, and this, of course, will result in many changes, social changes, movement of people, movement of displaced people, movement of businesses, and
so now, but why now?
agencies.
Why Port Sudan now? Yes, the government's there, but the government's been there since the beginning of the crisis. Why is the RSF turning its sights to Port Sudan at this particular moment?
Now, because Georgia is so obvious that RSF is reacting to their loss in Khartoum And actually, recently, their loss in Niala, just 2 days ago, one day before Sunday attack, the Sudanese military attacked Niala airport, which has been used by RSF supporters to supply them with weapons, advanced weapons, wide-range drones. It contains like high ranks of RSF officers who are operating the drone attacks in the across the country. So Niala airport was the analysts think that the reason behind attacking Port Sudan, because Niala is not the capital of for the RSF and their allied government, but it has been the operation theater for almost 2 years, and it has been a very strong shield for them. So attacking Niala was not only a military loss, but also a moral loss for the RSF. So seeing Port Sudan right now under the attack, that means this is a paying back, and it's a reaction to what happened in Niala, Georgia.
Thank you so much. Naba Mohideen there speaking to us from Port Sudan, which on Monday was again shelled by drone strikes from the RSF paramilitary. Naba Mohideen, thank you very much. Well, staying with Sudan, the International Court of Justice has thrown out Sudan's case accusing the UAE of violating the Genocide Convention. The top UN court said that it did not have the jurisdiction to rule over Sudan's claims that the United Arab Emirates funded and armed the Rapid Support Forces. August Hackinson tells us more.
After weeks of deliberation, a widely expected decision by the International Court of Justice, the ICJ dismissed Sudan's case against the United Arab Emirates.
Having come to the conclusion that it manifestly lacks jurisdiction, the court is precluded by its statute from taking any position on the merits of the claims made by Sudan.
Sudan argued the UAE's alleged support for its enemy, the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, amounted to complicity in genocide. Both countries are parties to the UN's Genocide Convention, but when the UAE joined in 2005, it entered a reservation to the key clause allowing countries to sue at the court. That move stripped the court of jurisdiction. Monday's decision marks a clear diplomatic win for the UAE, long accused of backing the RSF, accusations it keeps denying despite mounting evidence.
The UAE bears no responsibility for the conflict in Sudan. On the contrary, the atrocities committed by the warring parties are well documented.
While Sudan's case was dismissed, the brutal conflict rages on. On Sunday, RSF fighters struck Port Sudan, the first attack on the seat of the army-aligned government during the country's 2-year war.
Liv Bizo there for us. Now, Rwanda's confirmed that it is in early talks with Washington to take in immigrants from the United States. There, the Trump administration has been pushing a mass deportation drive. Kigali previously made a similar multi-million-pound deal with the UK, but that was scrapped after a new government was voted in Britain last year. Meanwhile, the US's senior advisor for Africa says that DR Congo and Rwanda have submitted a draft peace proposal as part of a process meant to end fighting in eastern DR Congo and attract billions of dollars of US investment. Now, at a ceremony in Washington last month, the foreign ministers of the two warring African neighbors agreed to submit the draft proposal by last Friday. Now, Eastern DRC has faced decades of conflict, but fighting and the humanitarian fallout that comes with it has intensified recently as the M23 rebels seized key cities in the east. One of them is Bukavu, where artists are resisting occupation and misinformation in their own way. Take a look.
Painter Jérôme Ondema works quietly in his studio. Brush in hand, a silhouette taking shape on a bright blue canvas.
The silhouette represents a man wearing a hat. This man believes that approaching the lake is a way to isolate himself from his community, especially from people who spread false rumors, misinformation, and unverified reports.
For Ondema, disinformation isn't abstract. It's personal and dangerous.
If I turn my back on you once, and you come again the next day and I do the same, and then again the day after, eventually you'll stop coming with false information.
Across the city, another artist brings the human cost of war into focus, especially its toll on children.
This painting illustrates the problems caused by war. A child whose father has been killed, whose mother has also been killed, and now only the children remain. The difficulty is that these children are left wondering, who will take care of us?
With more than 1 million people displaced and ceasefire hanging by a thread, the people of Bukavu continue to live in uncertainty. And with misinformation, trust is eroding fast.
Well, after more than 40 years of waiting for the launch of the urban train, the transport revolution has finally arrived for Lagos. A welcome relief for motorists in a Nigerian city that is internationally notorious for the length and frequency of its traffic jams. Take a look.
Timbi Horn is an agent at one of Lagos train stations. He's responsible for one of the 9 daily departures on the Red Line. This train links the center of Nigerian megapolis to its northern suburbs, which are densely populated. Timbi uses his horn to make sure the rails are cleared from all impediments.
You know, the train advertises itself. As it continues to run up and down, people start coming. The volume of passengers is increasing day by day.
According to Lagos State, nearly 2 million passengers used these air-conditioned trains in 2024 after it was inaugurated last year, February, 40 years after the promise was made. Kayode now leaves his car at home and takes the train every day.
Since this one come off, I feel that it's a very good option. Save the fuel, save me from the hold up and other things. Save the stress and other things.
Lagos State authorities want more of its 25 million people to take the trains. Billions of euros have been invested in stations and wagons, much of which uses Chinese technology. But chronic power cuts means that it's not still an easy ride.
We have a dedicated 8 megawatts of electricity independent power plant. Then in the train itself, we also have a battery system that even if there is cut in power from public power source, the battery system will take over.
This year, the federal government has budgeted to start building a 3rd metro line, an estimated 80 million euro project to link the port of Lagos to the future Lekki airport.
It's a pretty funky looking train. That, though, is all we have time for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much, though, for joining us. Do so again if you can. Till then, take care.